You're listening to Retail Disrupted, a podcast that explores the latest industry developments and the trends that will shape how we shop in the future. I'm your host, Natalie Berg. We are talking menopause on the podcast today. There are about 1 billion menopausal women in the world. That's 1 billion consumers who often feel overlooked and underserved, and often struggle to find the right products to support them. So what can retailers do to better serve this growing market? Heather Jackson has a few ideas. Heather is the CEO and co-founder of GenM. GenM is the menopause partner for brands and home of the MTick, the universal shopping symbol for menopause-friendly products. Heather is on a mission. She wants to unite responsible brands and retailers to normalize the menopause conversation and deliver much-needed choice, trust, and visibility to the menopausal market. By 2030, she wants the MTick symbol to be as recognizable as the vegan V and as purposeful as B Corp in how it transforms society's perception and support of menopause. Let's welcome Heather to the podcast. Heather, it's so great to have you on the podcast. I have been following your work since I heard you on stage at Retail Week Live last year, so it's great to have you here today. Tell us more about GenM and what inspired the journey.
Well, firstly, thank you very much for having me here, because obviously we've got to talk about menopause. It's a societal issue that we all need to break the barriers down of. So having this opportunity is absolutely brilliant. But what got me to deliver GenM and have this as the universal symbol for menopause-friendly products was the fact that I was a perimenopausal woman 5 years ago. And along with my co-founder at the time, we were on a conversation on holiday going how bad it was to be able to find products that from brands that's been we'd been loyal to all our lives. Sam was looking for some climate control pajamas. I was looking for a foundation that wouldn't run down my face. These weren't game changing, huge things that we were looking for. Can you tell me what I should have for my thinning hair? What sort of products? And it was like you were almost going on the deep dark web to find everything. This is absolutely ludicrous. These are brands we've been loyal to all our lives. I'm feeling invisible. And we both said, well, actually, two things on this. Are we just two perimenopausal women feeling fed up that we can't search, source and shop with confidence for products that could help alleviate, support or relieve any one of our symptoms? Or does the rest of the menopausal universe feel like this? And we commissioned an independent research report that showed that 87% of women in menopause felt let down, overlooked and underserved, which is not a great feeling when you know that these women are, the most powerful consumer with the biggest spend, and yet at the peak of our careers and our lives and our cash, we're absolutely not being seen. So obviously, our research report went deeper and deeper into this, and we decided that 94% wanted to see a symbol that they could trust, and so we decided that we'd create the MTick, and actually a symbol that was created on trust, built on trust, delivered on trust, that we can talk more about in a moment. But what we wanted to do was actually just like the vegan audience, and I will explain this to the listeners here that I haven't got anything against vegans before we start talking about this, but actually in the world there's 3% of a vegan audience, which over the last 40 years has grown to 3%. It's a life choice consumer, and yet it's been grown by brands and retailers understanding them, giving them what they need, listening to them, delivering to them, signposting to them, creating products for them. And yet, I'll remind you again, it's a 3% audience that everyone celebrates as going from taboo, niche and animal rights into this vibrant, inclusive audience that's there. Well, that's brilliant. And I'll give a round of applause to all the marketeers and all the brands that have been supporting that vegan audience get it to 3%. But over here, there's a 20% market share of underserved, overlooked women, of which menopause is not a life choice. Every woman will enter it. So for me and for Sam, it was like, well, where's our signposting? Where's our customer experience? Where's our product development? Where's being seen? Where, you tell me that you're building customer experience for us. But if you understand that we're time poor, time poor, sleep deprived, anxious, overwrought, and got brain fog, why on earth are you putting your products in the deepest, darkest depths of Peru to find them in your store? And secondly, on the internet, why are you making it so hard? You're either overwhelmed by lots of products that come thrown at you when you put in menopause or nothing at all.
Yeah, so interesting. And I think you would agree with me that retailers are certainly not doing enough, even today, to meet the needs of menopausal women. It does feel like we've made some progress as an industry, and that's probably in part due to all the work that you're doing. But as you say, this is a huge audience. It's a 1 billion global audience. It's a life stage that could last up to 15 years. And
Absolutely.
according to Kantar, women that are aged between 45 and 55 are the fastest growing shopper segment. So,
Absolutely.
Heather, just to kind of build on a point that you've made right off the bat, and it's an important one. Why has this demographic been so overlooked?
I actually, I don't want to get bitter. I want to get better on this. And actually, we can all look at it's not just this demographic in terms of retail and the consumer. In women's health, let's have a look at this. We've been way behind the times on what are the right things for women's health and how much attention and research should be put into it. So we are where we are, but menopause is now. And we need to actually absolutely reap the benefits of this opportunity to actually stabilize society and realize this is not a trend, it's a forever market. But equally, right now, we need this demographic of women to thrive. And right now, our research shows that only 5% will say they're confident and only 2% feel that they're thriving. Now, when we look at that demographic as the highest, in the workplace, well, now we start to really look at some figures and you realize that this is the highest demographic of limit women leaving the workplace. This is the highest demographic of women leaving relationships. And this is the highest demographic of women committing suicide, unfortunately. So why has it happened with retailers and brands? I don't want to put fault with them. It's society that's left us out here. And actually, we as women have actually left ourselves out as well, because I don't want to just blame men on this, or educationalists or medics, because we as women, my mother never talked to me about menopause, and then when I set up this business and she nonchalantly said to me, Heather, I'm not really sure why you're doing this, because actually menopause never impacted me. I says, Mum, you're 4 inches shorter than you were. You've got osteoporosis. Dad nearly left you. And actually, your hair was so thin, you look bald. So please don't tell me menopause didn't impact you. Do you know what I mean? It was like, oh, okay. But again, I was a woman who'd actually been a single parent, built a business, followed everything through. I've researched everything in my life. Why was it that I got to my like late 40s and actually perimenopausal hit me from back of nowhere? Because actually, I was totally unprepared for it. Now, menopause is something that we need to better prepare for, because actually the better prepared you are for it, the better experience you will have of it. And you wouldn't, I'll just make it nonchalantly simple, you wouldn't run a marathon in a pair of slippers with a dressing gown on, having been sat on the settee for the last 4 weeks just eating digestive biscuits. You wouldn't do it. You'd
Yeah,
train
you'd
for it.
prepare
You'd
for it. Yeah.
absolutely, you'd train for it. You'd buy the right kit. You'd join a club to actually run with people who've already done it before. So, you'd be on the line and you'd be emotionally, physically, and mentally prepared for your marathon. So there's 48 signs of menopause, from sleep deprivation right through to thinning hair, to dry and itchy skin, to, the overwhelmness, the anxiety. But there's 48 signs, and actually there's 48 opportunities for any retailer and any brand to actually support her better. And this isn't about asking brands and retailers to cure menopause. It's about asking them to help her live a better experience. So that's like if she's having sleep deprivation, well, actually, would climate controlled bedding, if you signpost it better, help her? Absolutely, yes, because it would save her getting up in the middle of the night, disturbing the whole household, changing her sheets, going on Instagram, getting a cup of tea, and losing 3 hours of her life, and then waking up later going, I feel terrible this morning, I'm going to have a donut because I need some sugar content. If she's had a good night's sleep and she just had the hot sweat and gone straight back to sleep, she's saved herself 3 hours of her life, and she's ready to eat the granola or whatever she might be wanting as a healthier start to the day. So everything has an impact on menopause, and every brand has a role to play here. And it's not just about selling products to a woman or better signposting them, it's better educating them as well. because there's 48 signs of menopause, and yet in this 21st century world, most women can, never mind men, can only name 3 to 5 signs. Well, if you don't know what you're experiencing, how do you know to get the products to actually help you?
Yeah, and you mentioned Instagram, and you talked about the 48 different signs of
Yeah,
menopause, and I'm glad you brought both of those things up because I feel like social media has played a huge role in driving awareness. And Davina McCall, and there's loads of celebrities and
yeah,
influencers and everyday people who have shared their own personal
yeah.
experiences, which I think has helped to uh, maybe break the stigma, be more open about this topic. You know, you mentioned that your mom would have never talked about it, so it's nice that as a society we are talking about these things. And so from my perspective, retailers also need to be talking about these things.
Retailers need to understand, support, and serve. You know, the world is made up of commerce, and this is an actually opportune time for brands and retailers to one, serve this underserved audience better on her needs, her demands, and the fact that she deserves the better treatment of it. But actually, this can be done with purposeful commercial opportunity as well, because as we've said, she's an underserved audience. So, what are the benefits if you serve this audience better? Working with GenM, working with our MTick, and actually building better designated space in stores and online, better signposting, better choice, and trust that those are products that will actually work in menopause. Because unfortunately, in this world as we go, there's always products that actually get marketed as doing great things, but actually, when you look at the ingredients, you know, to the expert on this, they can then say, well, that's not going to do diddly square. It hasn't got enough of the ingredients in, which is why we didn't want women of this generation to be washed. We wanted them to be menopowed, which is why we created the MTick with these great criteria to ensure that every product, whether it's technology or whether it's ingredients, that has the right ingredients or the technology to be able to deliver on this. But why would we ask the retailers to do it? Because actually, you know, women lost trust and loyalty with these brands. And actually, we know we can drive trust, we know we can drive loyalty. But at the end of the day, we now know from the year of the retailers, the biggest retailers, from your Tesco's to your Sainsbury's to your Boots, actually having designated space, having better online. You know, QVC have their own site for the MTick and their products, that we can actually increase penetration, sales penetration. We can drive basket size, we can actually uplift average spend, and we can grow the share of the menopausal consumer, which, as we've said before, is 15.5 million women in the UK, 75 million in the USA, and 1 billion globally. So it's a no-brainer.
So much to unpack there. I want to ask you about your Tesco partnership
Yeah.
and some of the learnings from that. But before we do that, just to be really clear for our listeners, can you just tell us, so the MTick symbol is an actual symbol that's placed on the product, and can you just explain, like, if I was a brand and I wanted my product to receive that accreditation, what's the process?
Well, firstly, the MTick, the universal symbol for Menopause-Friendly, is built on trust, created on trust, and delivered on trust. We went to Boots, the biggest trusted brand in the world, and actually went to see them and said, we've got this idea. We've got the idea for this symbol, but we need a trusted organisation to work with us on the accreditation. So they worked really well with us on that original certification with their um, their chemists, their legal team, their medics, everybody was involved with it. So we could build a robust, simple symbol that would actually help women search, source, and shop with confidence, drive society's changing the rhetoric. It takes the taboo out, and actually it makes shopping for menopause simple, and allowing every woman to feel that they have an opportunity to make their day today better than yesterday.
It's also the way that we shop today because as consumers, we are hyper informed. We're relying on either the retailer or the brand to give us that information, or we're seeking that out ourselves. There is a lot of noise out there, there's a lot of misinformation. And I think when we look kind of to the next 2 to 3 years, even not even that far into the future, we've got things like digital product passports coming in. So we're going to become even more informed when it comes to things like
Completely.
sustainability and sourcing. And From my perspective, I feel like this is only going to fuel demand for greater transparency when it comes to things like menopause-friendly products. Just taking a step back, the way that things are moving with AI and how it's enabling us to have very individualized promotions, products, messaging. I just feel like as consumers, messaging needs to be very targeted. I think that's what consumers are looking for.
Completely. And you know what? It is this time poor woman who actually menopause is the most inconvenient thing to come in her life at this time. She's, got her career, she's running her kids possibly, she's got her aging parents. And actually she should be swinging from the chandelier, having a Thelma and Louise time of her life. This is her time to thrive. And yet, as I said, only 2% are thriving and only 5% feel confident. These are stats we've got to really look at as a society. But
Wow.
back to our MTick and the fact that we needed to give a symbol of choice and trust and efficacy. Every product that comes along has to go through robust claims, from the evidence-based claims to the consumer trials or the innovative technology. There is nothing that we don't check out on this, so that this is a collaboration. Every brand has to actually sign that they have agreed that this does this, and equally it's putting the onus back on the brand. And what's been really exciting as well is it's not going to just game change menopause friendly shopping. Actually, the supplement world is getting tighter now. We've been able to really raise the ante on this. We've got some brands who failed to get the MTick, but then they've gone back to their chemists and their teams and added more ingredients in. Any brand that's in the GenM collective of 120 brands now, and 9 of the biggest retailers in the UK, if any one of those brands is pulled up by the ASA for false advertising, they run the risk of losing their MTick, because I haven't got time as a menopausal woman for this. You're either in and you're doing it properly or you're out.
Heather, earlier on, you mentioned that you partnered with Tesco, and I know this was both online and in stores. Can you tell us a little bit more about it, some of the learnings, and where you see the opportunities going forward?
We didn't, I mean, obviously, we've partnered with Tesco, as you quite rightly said, and they were the first to bring designated menopause friendly space, from taking it from a pilot that they proposed, that they did a pilot of designated space in menopause for a year. They did it after 3 months and decided they were going to make them permanent. So now they've got 98 of their biggest stores with them in, with a rollout of the next 3 years into all stores. So that's really exciting. But, again, it's not just Tesco in the UK that are leading on this. We've got Boots doing the same. We've got Morrison's who've put in theirs. We've got Sainsbury's. We've got all the biggest retailers and the biggest grocers on board now. We've got a couple that I haven't mentioned yet because the ink's not dry, but they are joining. So again, the opportunity for all these retailers to understand the sport better, but it shows quite clearly that it shouldn't just be in the health and beauty and wellness aisle. It actually goes across all categories, every category of retail, from food to nutrients to supplements to shampoos to clothing to apparel to electrical to pharmacy to optician. Every part of retail is covered here. So the idea now over the next few years is actually helping and supporting retailers to actually really work well on how they do not only a designated space, but then how they continue that promotion of better signposting across the aisles. And I have to say online, because online, I mean, it's the most depressing stage of everything's vibrant right now. But actually, online, I do feel that they've all got bored and just continued doing the same old, when actually, where's that customer experience? If I'm looking at supplements, why isn't it, and sleep supplements, why isn't it taking me then down to bedding, going, oh, you might be interested in this, or, oh, you've got thinning hair, maybe you might be interested in a silk pillow as well. Help me here. Help me, because I don't know everything. This is me as the consumer, don't know everything about this journey. But if you can just highlight some products or services, I don't have to buy them. I'm not gullible. I'm actually just looking for choices of where my journey should go. And these are game changing choices for people. So it's really exciting. And what's even more exciting now, having come off the back of World Retail Congress, where I took a keynote speech there, It's actually, we're now looking at across, you will see GenM and the MTick in America next year. You will see it in Asia. We're just in negotiations with the biggest retailer in Asia to take across all of their stores across all of Asia. And Australia, we've just commissioned our first country manager out in Australia, because we know that the world needs this. And actually, we've really worked hard to build a symbol of credibility, choice, trust, efficacy, respect, because this consumer isn't just your consumer. It's your mother, it's your daughter, it's your girlfriend, your friend, your lover, your partner, your sister. Everyone's got a role to play.
Heather, you're obviously incredibly passionate about this topic, and that really comes through in all your videos, your LinkedIn posts, and of course, in today's conversation.
Well, thank you very much. It's not passion, it's actually frustration that's driven passion. And actually, I've got a symbol, a post on my wall that my first chairman gave me, and she was chairwoman. I'd like to say I had a really great chairwoman, and she sent me a post that said, in life, there's some people want things to happen. There's those that wish it would happen, and then there's those that make it happen. I was seriously a perimenopausal, fed up female shopper who decided we needed better. So this hasn't been developed by a brand or a retailer. This has been developed by a woman who wanted to help ensure that I was the last generation of women who couldn't find what they needed in their menopause to make their journey better.
And that must make it even more rewarding. You're creating something that's genuinely improving the lives of millions of women. And I'd love to ask you before we wrap up, what's been the most rewarding milestone so far?
The most rewarding milestone was actually seeing the MTick, in its position in Tesco and Morrison's as well. In that first period when you saw it, nothing could take away from that. It was like you had an idea. You wanted to make menopause new vegan. You wanted to create a menopause category in a designated area, and actually it was happening. No one brand alone can change the world of menopause, but together we can.
Heather, it's been fantastic to have you on the podcast. You've made my job as host super easy, and it's been such a thought-provoking conversation. I wish you all the best. Thank you for listening to Retail Disrupted. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to support the podcast, please leave a rating or review or share it with others. It really makes a difference.